If at first you don't succeed, try again. That appears to be the motto for former Ole Miss head coach Houston Nutt. Nutt has refiled his lawsuit against Ole Miss, the Athletic Foundation, and the IHL Board of Trustees in a county court as he attempts to fight a legal battle against his former employer. Nutt previously had a lawsuit tossed out of a federal court, but he was eligible to refile the lawsuit in a county court in the state of Mississippi. The case made by Nutt remains the same in that he claims Ole Miss committed a breach of contract and he is seeking punitive damages. Nutt claims his successor, and now former Ole Miss head coach Hugh Freeze, conducted a misinformation campaign against Nutt in response to a NCAA investigation. Nutt believes Freeze and Ole Miss attempted to shift blame and responsibility for alleged violations of NCAA rules on Nutt. In response to those allegations, Nutt filed a complaint that led to a thorough investigation of Freeze's phone records. Reviewing those records ultimately led to a much different resolution for Ole Miss once it was discovered Freeze had been using his phone to call an escort service while on recruiting trips. As a result, Freeze resigned as head coach over the summer, after SEC Media Days but before the start of the current college football season. Follow at Kevin Onk FB. Washington head coach Chris Petersen raised an issue about the way Pac-12 games are scheduled on a regular basis last week. This week, it's Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer sharing his concerns about his team's schedule. I understand TV contracts are kind of ruling, but when you start talking about student athletes, they shouldn't have to play 4 night games on the road, Meyer said. According to The Blade, I talked to Ohio State Director of Athletics Gene Smith about it and I'm going to bring it up to Big Ten Commissioner Jim Delaney. We'll find out if we really do care about getting home at 4 o'clock in the morning 4 times. You don't do that. Ohio State has already played 3 primetime games, including 2 on the road. Ohio State opened the season on a Thursday night against Indiana and followed that up with a home game in primetime against Oklahoma. The Buckeyes recently played a road game at Rutgers in another primetime game. The Buckeyes are scheduled to play under the lights this Saturday at Nebraska for the 4th primetime game of the year, and 3rd on the road. Start times for 3 of Ohio State's final 4 games have yet to be determined, although games against Penn State 3:30 p.m. ET and Michigan 12:00 p.m. ET have been locked in. Meyer has a legitimate concern because night games can take a toll on any program. And when the team has a significant distance to travel for those night games, that can be a lingering concern that takes a day or so to recover. In my opinion, very strong opinion, when I start thinking about players and what's expected of them during the week, if you can't recover, you don't get those hours back, Meyer said. I'm talking about academically, I'm talking about just your body, and a student-athlete welfare. They should not play 4 night games on the road. Meyer would like to see a cap on how many times a team is scheduled to play in primetime on the road moving forward. Getting the Big Ten's television partners to cooperate on that would be necessary as the TV networks tend to influence when games are played for ratings purposes. The Big Ten has deals in place with both ESPN and Fox Sports and those networks want to use Big Ten programming in primetime regularly. There is also the Big Ten Network, which promised in recent years every Big Ten school will get to play in primetime. But for now, Petersen and Meyer are in the same boat for similar reasons when it comes to primetime games. Will Meyer be targeted by ESPN the way Petersen was? Follow at Kevin Onk FB. Minnesota is preparing to take on Michigan State this week, immediately after the Spartans pulled off a hard-fought road win against Michigan last week. The win by the Spartans seemed to catch many off guard considering last year's struggles and the rise of the Wolverines under head coach Jim Harbaugh. But Minnesota head coach PJ Fleck wasn't surprised at all. Asked about the win by Michigan State last week, Fleck said he was not surprised at all by the Spartans' victory in Michigan Stadium. Fleck went a step further to suggest it would be more shocking if Michigan managed to beat Michigan State instead. I think they beat them 8 out of the last 10 times, so I don't think you would be surprised at all, Fleck said when asked if he was surprised by the result. I think it'd almost be the other way. If Michigan beats Michigan State, you should be surprised. Saturday's 14-10 win was indeed Michigan State's 8th win in the last 10 meetings with Michigan, so Fleck is well aware of the recent history between 2 Big Ten rivals. And Fleck's remarks may have had dual purposes attached to them as well. On the one hand, Fleck is offering some praise for his next opponent by stressing his lack of surprise over the Spartans winning. On the other, by suggesting it was no surprise Michigan State won, he is taking a bit of a jab at Michigan as well. Fleck coached Western Michigan to an undefeated regular season last year, but that largely was overshadowed by Michigan's own run to an undefeated regular season until November. so he knows a thing or two about the state of college football in the state of Michigan. He also knows that anything that pecks away at Harbaugh and the Wolverines could bode well for him and his program at Minnesota. Fleck is known to find every possible recruiting angle he can use to his advantage, and chipping away at Michigan whenever the opportunity arises should be exploited by Fleck as he looks to build the Gophers into a Big Ten contender. Fleck and Minnesota will get their chance to measure up against Michigan later this season. The Gophers visit Ann Arbor on November 4th. Don't be surprised if this comment is revisited in a few weeks. Follow at Kevin Onk FB. Auburn has hired a law firm to conduct an investigation into alleged academic misconduct within the football program. According to a report from ESPN's Outside the Lines, a part-time academic support staff member allegedly took an online final exam for at least one football player from the 2015 team. It was originally reported the player in question was on the 2016 team, but that has since been updated to reflect the updated story. The alleged misconduct was brought to the attention of the Auburn Athletics Department last February by a tutor who was previously told her position would not be renewed for another year. The same tutor had been the one to discover an academic irregularity with one unnamed player she had worked with. The player informed her he had not taken an exam for a class she saw had been completed with a perfect score on the player's academic records. Auburn has issued a brief statement to refute the allegation of academic misconduct with the football team and academic support staff and accuses the tutor of fabricating the story. It's simply not true, the statement reads, according to ESPN. The person making the accusation is a part-time employee placed on administrative leave on August 31st because of a dispute with a coworker. She is making claims not supported by facts, and based on what ESPN told us, she keeps changing her story. Neither she, her attorney nor our investigation have produced anything to support her claims. It is unknown how many players may or may not be connected to this alleged academic irregularity at this time. It is also unknown if any players on the 2017 roster are connected to this allegation. Regardless of the validity of the accusation, it is a serious allegation that must be dealt with appropriately for better or worse. It is not believed this academic allegation is connected to the ongoing scandal connected to Auburn's men's basketball program. Needless to say, however, a story like this is not making anything going on at Auburn any easier, with the school reacting to the news of its basketball program being tied to the FBI's investigation to illegal activities in college basketball. The same law firm handling the university's response to the FBI investigation, Lightfoot, Franklin White, will also handle the investigation into this alleged academic fraud with the football program. Follow at Kevin Onk FB. The promising career of one of the highest-rated signees USC's most recent recruiting class has, at least temporarily, been put on hold. Clay Helton confirmed Tuesday that Marlon Tuipulotu had undergone back surgery earlier in the day. As a result, the true freshman defensive tackle will be sidelined for the remainder of the 2017 season. The current issue, Helton said, is believed to be connected to a previous injury at an early age. I think it's something that they got fixed, the head coach said, according to the Los Angeles Times. For the big picture, it's very, very positive for him. It was actually better than they thought, and the future is very bright for the kid. Tuipulotu missed the past 3 games, the first because of a knee injury and the second with the back issue, because he played in just 3 games. The lineman will be eligible for a medical hardship waiver that would get him a season of eligibility back. A 4-star 2017 senior, Tuipulotu was rated as the number 5 defensive tackle in the country, the number 1 player at any position in the state of Oregon, and the number 60 recruit on 247sports.com's composite board. An early enrollee who participated in spring practice, Tuipulotu had played in the first 3 games of the season prior to the injury issues surfacing.